Brilliant. Good.
Just testing everything to make sure we are live on the right places.
Good.
Looks like
Is
Instagram
working?
is yes.
Good.
Can you please change the camera to the vertical if you're able to?
Sure.
Perfect.
All
Let me make
right.
sure that.
Good. That's really near.
Yeah, let me double check Instagram just to see. It does not look like it's showing both of us. It's only showing the bottom here. So if there's another where we're on top of each other, that's not a widescreen, more a vertical.
Let me just check. I can go for this one.
I just want to make sure everyone sees both of us here.
I think if we go for this one, Mike, it's not so near, I know. But if we go for this one, it should be fine with Instagram. Just check again.
Yeah.
It's okay like this because we only have
Mm,
one and the other one. Um, and the third option, well, I would not recommend because otherwise we have the chat really small then.
yeah.
Yeah.
Instagram is weird. It cuts us off. No matter what, it looks like it cuts us off both ways, unfortunately.
All right.
Almost like it's a full screen and it's only showing half this screen that we
Mhm.
see right now. So, sorry everyone, while we try to navigate this, we want it to be live as many places as possible. And because of that, there's different screen sizes. So, we're playing with that a little bit. I'm not sure if you're able to see this, but it's cutting
Let me
off
just
like
check.
half the screen.
All right.
Oops. I'm not sure if you're able to see this, but
Ah,
it's
yeah, it's cutting off the
cutting off
screen. Yeah.
half the screen. Yeah.
Yeah, true. Let me just check. So sorry, guys, whoever's watching us. Welcome to live, which is starting. Just check again. I think that should be better. I don't know.
Okay. Um, Again, you can only see the right half, so you can only see me speaking. So it does look better though. At least you can see something.
All right.
So so everyone on Instagram, sorry, looks like you're just going to see me for this for now. We're hoping to save this and have this up later, so we'll work on that for
All right.
the upload. But
Cool. So, Mike, we are now live on YouTube, LinkedIn, YouTube again from your account, Facebook from your account, Instagram as well, and also TikTok. So, if you're not or if you cannot watch us via LinkedIn, you can just check out the other social media channels. That should work. Maybe you can only see me or you can only see Mike, but anyways, we have to work now with the technical issues within the IT. That's the normal stuff, I think. All right. So, how it comes to the topic, Mike, maybe we should tell the people. So, why we would like to talk about single tasking versus multitasking.
yeah, when we've talked a lot about success and performance and just being your optimal self. And multitasking is something that's very popular in modern society, but it is not as helpful and effective as people think it is. It's kind of a cultural norm to multitask and be proud of multitasking and that you can do so many things at once. But if you look at the science of it and the neuroscience and the effect it has on your brain, it's actually quite opposite. So we had this discussion, we
Mhm.
talked about it, and we wanted to share because it was really interesting and fascinating to both of us. And we wanted to make sure everyone knew what we were learning.
Right, right. And we would like to share it as well because sometimes we struggle as well, right? we just are
Yes.
coaches, but it's a little bit different to just have the awareness that you struggle with, let's say, single tasking or multitasking, right? Um,
Yeah.
let's go for this. I give you an example. So I give you the definition of multitasking because when I ask people, what's the definition of multitasking? I get always the response, I'm doing several things at the same time, which is not completely wrong, I would say, right? But it's not completely right. So, what you do with multitasking is you switch between the tasks you do. So, if you read an
Mm,
email and you pick up the phone, you are switching between the tasks. And what happens then? You just focus not enough, right?
yes. Yeah, it's impossible to do two tasks. Well, it's mostly impossible to do two tasks at once. Two tasks that you have to use brain power and really think about what you're doing. So multitasking is switching very rapidly back and forth between different things. So if you are in, say, we're doing this and we're trying to read an email at the same time, we have to think about what we're doing and saying here, or listen to what you were saying if I'm not speaking, read the email, maybe a phone alert goes on. We're not doing all three things at the same time. We're switching back and forth. Well, with attention and focus, it takes a while to shift your attention, shift your focus, be able to focus and interpret and understand and absorb and remember what's going on. So when you're multitasking,
Hmm.
you're one splitting your energy, but you're splitting your focus and you're not absorbing everything that you should be, and you're not doing one thing fully. You're sharing your energy and attention.
True, true. Do you have an example when it happens to multitasking? I know we do multitasking as well, right? I think like every
Yeah,
day sometime. I can share one. When I'm
yeah,
in the office, I think I do more multitasking than single tasking because a lot of things are
mhm,
coming up and popping up when I'm in the office. So we have meetings going on, calls are coming in. That's like more on the career wise. But when I'm
mhm,
thinking about my personal life, I would say sometimes I do it as well, like eating and
yeah,
scrolling through TikTok, which should be not like the case. Um,
yeah.
yeah.
You mentioned before that even as coaches, we see this in our own life, and I see it a lot. To be completely honest, I struggle with this quite a bit, and that's why it's so interesting to me. Having that awareness of what you struggle with is important, but we're by no means perfect as coaches. There's kind of a misunderstanding that a coach is perfect at their life, and that's why they share how to do other things in life. Well, one, we don't share necessarily how to do other things unless it's social media or lives, but we're far from perfect too. We're learning as we go. We just have that awareness and we know how to do it and what we need to focus on. But for me, I have a really bad habit of watching TV while I eat. I don't watch much TV, but when I eat, it's kind of a break from the workday, a break from everything else. And I turn something on TV. It's usually a YouTube video, something short that's educational, which is even worse because I have
Mm.
to pay attention, absorb the information, and then I'm trying to eat at the same time. And I actually found in a study, I found a lot of studies, I know you did too on this, that when we do that specifically, and it's funny that I found this specifically, you have a lower metabolic rate. You digest your food slower. So when I do this often, and I'm working on it, but when I do this, I'm eating and watching anything, a YouTube video, television, Netflix, whatever it is, I'm not digesting fully. My body can't focus and give full attention to digesting the food and absorbing the information. And I couldn't tell you how many times I have to pause a show and finish eating because I'm looking down and I notice that I'm not paying attention, not absorbing. Or if I'm watching something and someone sends me a text message, I have to pause the show. I can't have a conversation if it's an educational show. There's no way I can give full attention or listen to what's going on in both.
True, true. I have the same, actually, what you just said, Mike. If you're just eating and watching TV or just scroll through TikTok, you would not concentrate or focus on your food, right? So, what you do, you eat and then you watch maybe a live or maybe a good TV show. That should be
Mhm,
actually not the case. But, remind yourself and being aware that you are right now in a multitasking thing, let's say like this, and you aware of that, you can change it immediately. And that's actually the thing. And I think you as a mindset coach, I mean, shifting between the things is really good. So taking the awareness, oh, I'm right now multitasking, so go back to single
Yeah.
tasking, right?
Absolutely. And you, as a success coach in the business world or whatever you want to be successful at, it's very helpful to do one thing at a time, to single task, or else you're not quite as successful, I would imagine, right?
Exactly. It is. It is. And I can share one thing, because a lot of people now thinking, okay, I do multitask, how I can do single tasking. And I was working with a client and I can share a productivity hack. Let's say it like this, it's an exercise. So
Okay.
you write down 6 goals for the next day, right? Just
Mhm.
get a piece of paper, write down 6 goals. And then the next day you start with the first goal. So number one, two, three, and so on. And you don't move to number two before you just even finish number
Mhm.
one. That's
Yeah.
it. And sometimes it's a little bit, yeah, you overthink and it's a little bit a challenge at the moment or at the beginning. Um, but you
Yeah.
can just go down to three or four. It doesn't matter. But just keep yourself focused on number one before you move to number two. And
Yeah.
another thing is just, yeah, close down laptops, close down mobile phones, especially when you go to sleep. Don't take your mobile phone with you in the room. I know a lot of people now take mobile phone for alarm ringing, which is nice, but I would not recommend it because room is a sleeping room, not watching TV, not scrolling down through TikTok. It's only for sleeping. That's what I can recommend to the people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. The same with specific rooms for specific
Mm.
things, or even specific clothes for different things. I know Jay Shetty taught that in
Mm.
our certification course. You know, if you're going to sleep, you have sleep clothes. You're going to sleep, you know, your room that is meant to sleep. Your dining room is meant to eat.
Mm.
So your brain remembers what you do in those specific rooms, and it's easier to operate that way because it's so simple for your brain to understand.
True, true. And you mentioned Shay Shetty, and I remember one thing he said. Remember when 100 people came into your room in the morning? You
Yes.
know that
Yeah.
kind of thing? That's a
Yeah.
nice thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
He mentioned,
you would
yeah,
never
like
do
waking
that.
up every day
Yeah,
with 100 people. Yeah, you would never do it. But when you open social media, you allow hundreds, maybe even thousands of people to have access to you first thing in the morning, you know, without glasses on, even sometimes, or contacts in. You haven't showered yet. You would never let people see you that way, but you do through social
yeah,
media.
yeah. What else would you say, Mike, is beneficial to do single tasking from your point of view when you're working with clients, especially, I don't know, which has to do with mindset?
Yeah, you mentioned the list, and I think a big part of that list is
Mm.
prioritizing. What's the most important? I love lists. I have long lists every day. Most of that list is not very important for that day. I want to do it at some point, but for that day, for that time in the morning, first thing, it can move to the bottom of the
Mm.
list. I've shifted from a paper list to using Trello. I kind of used both, but just an online tool where I can color code and I can kind of assign it a priority,
Mhm.
and I can see what I have to do. I think having the list and seeing what you have to do is helpful. It might seem overwhelming, but if you focus on here are the priority things, it's probably only one or two things. If not, you can work through those things and shorten that list and then be able to balance a little bit more. But
Right.
I think knowing and understanding what's really important. Is it really important that you check your emails? It might depend what your job is. Sometimes it might not matter for a few hours, and this report that you have to do or this task you have to do, you should do first and check your emails later.
Right. Agree, agree. And also, that you just have, yeah, that you just feel accountable, so that maybe, I don't know, we are coaches, right? That's what we as a coach do, helping the clients to
Yeah.
stay accountable in such a way. um, but single tasking is a really, really big challenge if you do it at the beginning till to the end. And
Yes.
I would recommend to do it for 3 months. Yeah, like the productivity hack, which I already shared. I would do it for 3 months and then see what kind of outcome you maybe have on that. Right. So it's like the
Yeah.
commitment and doing it like every day. And if you switch to multitasking, that's okay, I mean, we are all people, right? And we have a lot of distractions going on during the day, even if you are in the
Yeah,
office or if you are at home sometimes. That's totally normal. But I think organizing yourself through the daily week is like 50% of the goal.
I agree. I agree. And most of the clients, if not all of the clients I've worked with, we've even either gotten to this point or we will get to this point is scheduling,
Mm,
just organizing your day. A lot of clients that have their own business or work for themselves or want to do things after work and can't find a way how, it's scheduling, it's prioritizing, it's fitting it in, it's giving it an actual spot on a calendar for these 2 hours or for this hour, I will do this. And I think when you switch from multitasking to single tasking, it's good to start small.
mm,
You can't say tomorrow, you can, but it probably won't work that well. Tomorrow, I will only single task, and that's all I will do all day long. Well, you probably never tried single tasking to this extent before. So start small. Have one small little project. Um, I don't know why I keep thinking of email. That's one that always,
mhm,
you get alerts for emails all day. Maybe you can do that as a small task if you haven't had that list prioritized yet. And you check your email, you focus on just getting that done. Once you complete that, you check that off your list, which feels amazing. That's what I love to work with clients on is make a list so you can cross it off, check it off, and then look at how much that you've accomplished. If you multitask and you do four things at once, you'll never check that list off. You don't feel as accomplished, you don't feel productive. So I would say start small
yeah,
and incorporate whatever else we talked about.
agree, Mike. Really good, really, really good point. Um,
Thank you.
yeah, I think, as you said, start small and then do like these little baby steps into the right direction to do actually single tasking. But I also think and it has to be mentioned, multitasking is a society thing. So I think we are
Yes.
born with multitasking. If you're working in a really fast-paced environment like I do, um, a lot of people do multitasking. I would say single tasking would be much beneficial and more productive if we just talk about productivity, especially in
Yeah.
sales, right? So if you
Yeah.
block your like acquisition calls or whatever you have, doesn't matter. Or maybe a negotiation with a client in regards to the contract. So, but when you block that, it's much easier to focus on that kind of task without, yeah, talking to
Yeah.
anybody right now at this kind of moment though for 1 hour, yeah, but
Yeah.
it's a challenge to let your colleagues know, stop out for 1 hour, I'm not available, you can send me emails, I will not respond, I will only focus
Yeah.
on that kind of task. That's actually saying no, right? So I'm not available.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a form of self-love,
Mhm.
I think, too,
Okay.
of respecting your
Mm.
boundary, and that's treating yourself as best as you can and respecting yourself, loving yourself. I need this to be as beneficial and to help this team as much as possible. So this is what I'm going to do for me, and it will benefit you all. So I think there's a lot of different things where it comes into play
Yeah,
with that.
yeah. What about mindfulness? I mean, you're a mindset coach. Can you share, with
Yes.
us? I'm a success coach. So can you
Yeah.
share, not based on success, maybe on, yeah, let's say the buzzword mindfulness.
Yeah, single tasking, mindfulness is huge when it comes to single tasking because mindfulness is focusing on the present, on the right now, being as fully absorbed in the current moment as you can, not worrying about the past, not stressing out about the future, what's right in front of you and what you can do right now in this moment. That is pretty similar to single tasking.
Mm,
You have that one task, that one thing that you're focused on. And in the process of single tasking, you're really practicing mindfulness. A lot of people, when it comes to meditation, they think you have to clear your thoughts. Well, that's a misconception about meditation. It's not necessarily clearing your thoughts; it's clearing your busy mind and only focusing on one thing, maybe one thought, your breath, your body, the situation, but it's one thing, and that in itself is single tasking. You're focusing on that one aspect, the breath or your body or whatever thought or feeling you want to meditate on. It's just the one thing and you're clearing everything out. So mindfulness, single tasking, they are very, very similar. And you need mindfulness to be able to single task.
Exactly, exactly. That's why I'm asking, because it's linked to each other, like
Absolutely.
mindfulness and also single tasking, but also success, right? So in the end, you will have success, and you more like, yeah, more will have more like the productivity in the end. That's what we
Yeah,
say, right? Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. I would like to go back a little bit to the neurological thing. Yeah,
Yes.
because when you go on Google and you put in, well, you can do it. Everyone who is watching us, go on Google and put in neurological and then single tasking, and you see, well, I don't know, several
Yeah.
different articles about doctors who just wrote articles who did just, I don't know, several things. And you will see that even our brain is not, it is not possible to do actually multitasking. It is not
Yeah.
possible, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Because, like we said before, you have to switch. You're not necessarily doing two things at once that you're focusing and concentrating on. You're switching back and forth between things, which it was really alarming to me. That puts a lot of stress on your brain. You have early mental decline from these neuroscientists that looked at that perspective. So your mental age is much older than your actual age, which is scary for a lot of people. I know for me that's scary. If you are a chronic multitasker, it increases your cortisol levels,
Mm.
which is your stress hormone, and then that damages your memory. On top of all of the negative effects that stress has on your body too. So it's actually really damaging to multitask, which is something that's not talked about. It's so glorified and you should be proud that you multitask. Well, not really, because in 20, 30 years, you might have mental decline. You might have health impacts, negative health impacts because of stress, and all of these other bad things that luckily these neuroscientists have done studies on and found that we should pay attention to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you mentioned memory, a really good buzzword, Mike, because it's like a disc how our brain works, right? So if we do multitasking, we cannot remember after months what we did because we were
Yes.
switching between the tasks, right? We 100% focus. So if you single
Hmm.
tasking, your brain is remember what you maybe read or what you maybe, I don't know, right? Maybe a podcast or what else it is. Um, I
Yeah.
also have an example in regards to reading a book. So if you read a book,
Mm.
you read maybe 5 to 10 pages and then you close the book, right? So you do only one thing, you read the book and you remember what you read the next day. That's why reading a book is a really, really nice exercise to have your mind really in the present and only focus on reading. I like it.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's very hard to read and do anything else, right? Even walking, you and walking is a pretty mindless thing that it's kind of a borderline with a single tasking, but it's hard to read and do anything else. So that's a great one. I love that.
True, true. Yeah, reading books is like the only one where I do single tasking as well. For me, it's sometimes a challenge. But when I reflect myself and I do this like every day, I reflect like
Mm.
my whole day, what was good, what was bad. And then I see that I was multitasking in the office and I was like, oh no, I shouldn't do that because I always
Yeah,
have a blocker in the calendar. But it's actually not possible working in the office because it's so much going on. And in the home office, you are more like focused on the task because you have nobody you can talk to, right? You're alone. So
yeah,
you work. Yeah, that's
yeah.
basically it. Yeah.
Yeah, and the one I mentioned I struggle with, watching YouTube or TV and eating. Sometimes I'll eat and I'll reflect back after, either right after I ate or later in the day. Why did that meal feel so heavy? It was a very light, healthy
Mhm.
meal. Why did I feel tired or want to take a nap or feel terrible after? Well, I didn't allow my body to do what it was doing because I was focused on something else. And when I sit and just enjoy the meal and focus on the meal, I never feel that. Not once have I felt that. Um, which is funny why I still struggle with that. But we all have our things we need to
True,
work on.
true. And you remember what I shared with you, Mike? Driving a car. And I don't know,
Yes.
listening to music, right? And you're not focusing on driving your car. You're thinking, yeah, something else. So you're driving down the
Hmm.
road. You see the first sign, but you don't remember the signs in between because you weren't focusing
Yeah.
on driving a car. That's crazy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And before you know it, you arrive at your destination and think, I have no idea how I got here.
Exactly.
You
Yeah,
know, which luckily our brains remember and it had enough attention and focus to get us there. But that's a scary thought in itself, too. If you've ever done that before, it's kind of scary of, I'm glad I saw everything, but I wasn't fully alert and present. And that's why texting and driving and even talking on the phone and driving has become, banned or illegal in certain places. Because there was a study with this too from a neuroscientist. When you're talking on the phone and driving, your visual senses, how you can see and how much attention and energy goes to what you visually see, is lowered
mm,
because you're talking, you're thinking about that phone conversation. And just like anything, you only have 100% energy. If you do one thing, if you single task, you give that 100% of your energy at that time. If you do two, the most that you can give one thing is maybe 90, 95%, likely less, maybe more 50-50 or 60-40. So you're only thinking about driving, you're only giving a certain percentage of your attention
true,
to driving, which is very dangerous.
true, true. Yeah, but it's a nice
Uh,
example, and I'm happy that I'm not
yeah,
alone.
you're not. Unfortunately,
Really.
a lot of us have, or fortunately, a lot of us have experienced that, and maybe it will be an eye opener now that we've talked about it in this way.
Exactly, exactly. All right, so it sounds like it begins all with awareness, right? Again, I mean,
That's
everything begins with awareness and single tasking as well. So being aware that you are a multitasker is the first step into the right direction, right? I would say. Yeah.
absolutely.
Mm,
Yeah, and I've said this a few times. I had a video the other day where I mentioned this
yeah.
again. There's a study, 90% of people think that they are self-aware. But in reality, only 10 to 15% of people actually are self-aware. So it's more like 90% of people are not self-aware. So the first thing that we work on with clients, or one of the first things, is that self-awareness. Understanding what you're doing, why you're doing it, what drives you, getting to know yourself. A lot of people don't take the time to get to know yourself, what you like, what you don't like, what your habits are, and that can solve a lot of your problems. And it's good to have someone guide you and lead you, like a coach, like what we work with, and that accountability. That's probably why I still eat and watch TV. I don't have that accountability. Maybe someone will check in on me now, or you will. But I don't have that
Mm,
accountability. I don't have a call in a week or two where I have to check in and say, yeah, I'm still doing the same thing. So
right.
but you're right. It all starts with awareness and understanding yourself.
True. And as I said before, reflection as well. I
Yes.
like the reflection themes. Reflecting on yourself, how your day was, what was good, what was maybe not bad. You can shift it to what should be better on that day. It's maybe better to talk to
Yeah.
yourself that was really bad. I don't like that. Um, but when it comes to reflection, and I think a lot about leadership management, but that's a little bit out of scope, but I have to say it. I think in leadership management, it's really, really important to reflect yourself as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. If you reflect on what happens, and a big part of what I do with the mindset
Mhm.
work with my clients, it's important to reflect on it. And if you have a negative feeling or thoughts or something about it, how can you shift that? How can you change that? So, whatever the negative thing was in that day, you didn't like that. So, was there anything good that came out of that? Was there any positive that came from that? Well, you're learning that you didn't like that and you don't want to do that. So, if there's nothing else, there needs to be a change that should be
True.
made, or that you want to make a change. Now, it's just up to you to make that change. And if you don't reflect, you might do the same thing every day for who knows how long and never make any adjustments and wonder why your life is staying the same.
Exactly, exactly. What I do with clients actually who are really interested to do single tasking is I just give them, or we just discuss it, and they give themselves three goals for the next day. And I tell them, just stay as a multitasker. Don't switch now to single tasking, and let me know if you just did like all the three goals at the end of the day. That's it will not
Yeah.
be possible because if you are a multitasker, you cannot switch between the tasks, and what the outcome is actually you cannot, well, let's say, do like the well, I don't have the word, recognize these kind of goals, which you had already,
Yeah.
let's say, the day before. That's what
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah. And I don't know if we touched on this early on, but
Yeah,
productivity, as far as being productive, everyone thinks multitasking, you're way more productive because you multitask. It's actually opposite because of all of that switching. You are less productive. There's something I wrote a note. You lose 20%, at least 20% of your productivity every task that you add. So you're much less productive because of all of that switching and getting settled and getting used to doing that. I just had a thought of it would be like if you were working on a laptop in your home and you switch from room to room to room. Well, you can get back used to typing and what you need to do, but you have to find a comfortable seat. You have to make sure the laptop's in the
mm,
right place. It takes some time before you can find the right position or the situation to be able to do
true,
that. You can't just walk in a room, start typing right away. It takes a little transition period.
true. And especially in a sales environment where I come from, I think single tasking is the key. There's a really
Yes.
brilliant story about a guy. His name is Tim. He's from the UK, I think. He wrote a book about that. And he also was a salesman. He was in a leading position. And he hired a coach, actually. And the coach told him to actually do this productivity hack or what else. And that all the employees have to write down the day before 5 to 6 goals, what they would like to do within sales. But starting at
Mhm.
one and then moving on to two, but first, you know, closing down
Yeah,
one before you move to number two. And what happens
absolutely.
after 3 months is they could double their income, which is
That's
amazing.
amazing.
Yeah, but it is how it is.
Yeah,
If you focus only on one task and you eliminate all distractions around you, it works. But actually, it's a
yes,
society thing, right? It's a society thing.
it is.
Multitasker is like, wow, you are good in what you do. you know? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think just the business world in general, there's a big focus on being more productive and doing more and achieving more. And I know in the US, that's a big thing too. We're just overworked and the expectations are so high. And I don't think it's understood, and that's a big reason why we
Mhm.
did that. Did this. It's not common and understood as much as it should be that multitasking won't get you to where you want to be in that regard, as being productive and successful and accomplishing more. The expectations are higher and higher. People want more and more from us. And the real way to do that effectively is single
True,
tasking.
true. And tasking sounds so easy when we now talk about that. But believe me, it's a really
Yeah,
big challenge. I don't ever
it
had
is.
the awareness that I'm a multitasker before. I try always to do single tasking, but sometimes I switch. I'll be honest.
Yeah,
I'm just human.
yeah, exactly.
It's a really, really big challenge. But if you have somebody who is, I don't know, reminding you of these kind of things that you are switching between the tasks and you should more focus and focus, I think it's much easier to have somebody who holds your hand, and
Yeah.
support you in that kind of way to do more like single tasking than multitasking.
Absolutely. And that's one of the biggest things that a coach helps with, someone like us, is that accountability and someone to guide you and to help you. And with any change, it can be difficult in a process, but if you have someone that's helping you along the
True,
way, it's so much easier.
true.
Yeah. So as far as people wanting to start single tasking, say today, tomorrow, getting started, what can you add to this? Eliminate distractions, start small,
Set clear
make a
goals.
list of
Yeah.
priorities.
Set
Okay.
clear goals or priorities. You already named it. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And maybe do like this kind of exercise I shared. You shared also an exercise about mindset, right? To do like the buzzword mindfulness, how you can train it. I think these
Yeah.
kind of buzzwords are, and if you need help, I mean, we are here, right? Yeah,
Absolutely, absolutely.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, and for this live stream, anyone that sees this, we're offering it today and tomorrow, but 10% off your first coaching session.
Mm,
We'll work with you. We want to help more people. That's why we're doing this. The goal is to help as many people as possible. So if this was helpful, if you like what you heard from us, reach out to us. We have our websites down here, or just send us a DM or a comment or something, and we'll be happy to work with you.
Yeah, nice. And I would like to add,
There's one more
yeah,
thing.
go
Oh, I'm
ahead.
sorry. Go ahead.
No, Mike, go ahead.
There's one more thing I promised I did an Instagram and Facebook story prior to this, and we talked about this months ago. There's a show that neither of us really like on Netflix. It's not necessarily really related to single tasking, but something we really wanted to at least touch on, right? Do you remember the show Escaping Twin
Sure.
Flames?
Oh, yes. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So this show talked about coaching, and the way that they did their coaching is much different from what coaching really should be. It had some structural aspects to it, but it is far different from what coaching should be. And we're both, into different spiritual things, as you can see behind me, and even the concepts that they talked about with, which is a little out of our coaching realm here, but we wanted to speak to it. The masculine, feminine energy, the twin flames in general. It was just a really wild show, and I know it bothered both of us because of that, and because of the name that it might give coaching. And we wanted to take a few minutes just to say that that is not how it is working with us as coaches. That's not what true coaching
No.
is. Um, why they call themselves coaches is interesting. That's not really what they're doing in a way. And yeah, I'll let you expand on that, but I know it bothered both of us, so I wanted to make sure I brought it up
Yeah,
when we
that's
had.
good. Thank you so much, Mike, for adding it. Yeah, you need to check it out. Yeah, it's on Netflix. Yeah, it's a crazy documentary. Yeah, but it has nothing to do with coaching because coaching is really helping you to move further. And it doesn't matter if you would like to go to the right direction and I would like to go to the maybe left direction. It's up to you. So we support you in any kind of decision how you think you would like to move further. Yeah, that's all what I
Yes.
can say. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. And coaching is more of a guide. It's
Mhm.
more of helping you discover what works best for you instead of us saying, like you said, with the tools that we provide, we'll share tools and say, here's something that you can maybe try and that might work for you. But if it doesn't work for someone, we won't force someone to use a
No,
specific tool.
no,
We just share different tools so they can find something that works.
agree.
And if you've seen this documentary or the series, you'll know that's very different. A lot of things were very forced, and it was the ideas of other people, not the people themselves, and that's not at all how we
Yeah,
work.
but it's good. It's creating awareness how coaching should not be. So
Yes.
yeah, just check it out on Netflix. It's really cool. And like, share, and if you have any questions, reach out to me and Mike. It was a pleasure being live again. It was actually a time.
Yes.
My goodness, I have to do more lives.
It was a while.
Yeah, but it's about time management sometimes. And
Yes,
yeah, it's a
exactly.
lot of work behind the scenes. So yeah, but thank you so much, Mike. Again, pleasure as always. And if you have questions, as I said, just reach out to us. Thank you.
Yeah, you too. Thank you so much. Always great to join you, and thank you for coordinating and doing this with me.
Bye bye.
Take care, everyone.